reason other than this will affect the poor and infirm. You know, we are now, as a government, we are now the primary charity. And again, we all want to help the poor, the sick, the infirm. We want to help it with our own earnings, our own wealth that we can give to them, our own time that we can give to them. It is just not correct. It is against all my conviction to see people who earn and pay and do everything the right way just to have the county say your property is abandoned. It's also, this adverse possession deal is in contradiction of Washington state law. So just one operating principle I have for this commission is to not promote or to send to the people proposals that are in contradiction of state law. It doesn't make sense to me. I cannot fit this round peg into the square insert. I will not be voting for this ever, and I will, at the close of commentary for this, will propose the same motion to stricken this proposal indefinitely from this commission. Thank you.
Commissioner Rogi, followed by Commissioner Rohrer, and then Commissioner Herrera, and Commissioner Ginn.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Chair. Commissioner Rogi, District 3. I have worked in Pierce County government. I have worked for the state, and I'm a long-term public employee who believes in serving the community, and I understand the power of eminent domain and the immense responsibility that comes with having that kind of authority. And this amendment is completely inappropriate, and I don't think there's any time when we should be giving vague authority to the government to come in and take our private property that we've worked hard for. My husband and I bought our land, and he built our home, and we've been there for 25 years in Pierce County. I grew up in Tacoma. I can't imagine if somebody decides that your house is abandoned. What does it even mean? The idea of putting vague language into such an onerous and a potentially dangerous part of our charter is inappropriate, because the burden of public use is on the government, and it's supposed to be for public use. Eminent domain is not just some random authority that the government gets to come and take your home. They have to prove it. They have to prove that it's for public good. They have to go to court, and a judge rules on every case. That is expensive, and it takes about 2 years for an eminent domain, even though it's supposed to be prioritized, for it to come by, and the government has to prove that they need your property for roads or for parks or for utilities. They can't just say, I'm going to come in and take your property and put 7 people in it because they're homeless. They can't do that. So I'm against this amendment, and I think it's completely inappropriate. This is America. The power is with the people. We value private property and private ownership. It's part of what the dream of America is. And in America, we don't use the government to take from you to give to me. At least I don't. And I think we have really strong protections in the Constitution that help keep the government under control. Because I don't want a government that's out of control. They need to be accountable to the people, because we are the ones who are giving the power to government. Adding vague language in the charter to give the government more authority over state and federal law is completely inappropriate, and I will not be supporting this.
Thank you. Commissioner Rohrer?
Commissioner Rohrer, District 6. Thank you, Madam Chair. I also have very serious concerns about C-42 and don't support advancing this proposal. Abandoned buildings, unsafe structure, and chronically neglected properties can create real problems for neighborhoods. They can affect public safety, neighboring property owners, property values, and the overall quality of life in a community. But the fact that a problem may exist does not mean that every proposed solution is appropriate. The solution must be lawful, narrowly tailored, clearly defined, and proportionate to the problem. C-42 does not do that. It is not a cleanup amendment. It is not merely clarification of existing language. It is a significant expansion of county authority over private property. I've heard one constituent talk about this proposal as a truly government overreach, a power grab. The current county charter contains an important safeguard. It says that private property may be taken by the county only for a genuine public use, and that no greater interest may be taken than is necessary to accomplish that public use. That safeguard matters. Eminent domains is one of the most serious powers government can exercise. It allows the government to take property from an owner even when that owner does not want to sell. Because that power is so significant, it must be limited, clearly defined, and used only when truly necessary. C-42 broadens the authority substantially. It expands the definition of public use to include the necessary support of the poor and infirm, and the protection of safety, health, and well-being of residents against hazards created by neglected land or structures. Those goals may sound reasonable in the abstract, but when we are discussing the power to take someone's property, broad and undefined language should concern us. What does well-being mean? What qualifies as sufficient neglect? How serious must a hazard be before the government can come and move towards taking property? Who makes the determination? What standards would apply consistently across the county? Those are not minor drafting questions. They go directly to the scope of government power. The proposal then goes much further by creating a new charter section entitled Implied Adverse Possession. That title is concerning because it is not traditional adverse possession as most people understand it. Traditional adverse possession involves a legal process with established requirements. This proposal would instead create a new pathway for the county to take that property that it determines has been abandoned for at least 7 years. That definition of abandonment is also very broad. The property could potentially fall within the language if vegetation repeatedly or chronically encroaches on the neighboring property, if a structure becomes unsafe or unsound, if a structure collapses, or if it is demolished to prevent collapse. The proposal would then allow the county to restore the property or to dispose of it, including transferring it to another private party if the property is returned to a productive use similar to the neighboring properties or its prior use. That should give us pause. The power to take private property should never be treated casually. It should never rest upon vague and subjective terminology, and it should never be explained without a compelling and clearly demonstrated need. There are many reasons a property may appear neglected. An owner may be elderly or experiencing a serious illness. A family member may be navigating probate after death of a loved one. A service member may be deployed. An owner may have limited financial resources and be unable to complete repairs quickly. A property may be caught in an insurance dispute, a legal dispute, a foreclosure process, or a complicated family situation. None of those circumstances excuse an actual public safety hazard, but they illustrate why government must proceed carefully and why the remedy must be targeted to the specific problem. The county already has processes in place to address nuisance properties. It can require repairs, it can order corrections, it can require removal and demolition when necessary. It can abate nuisances and recover costs. It can place a lien on a property to reimburse the county for the expense of the abatement. Those tools allow the county to address the actual hazard without creating a new charter level pathway for taking ownership of someone else's property. The remedy should fit the problem. If the concern is unsafe structure, address the unsafe structure. If the concern is overgrown vegetation, address the vegetation. If the concern is nuisance, abate the nuisance and recover the cost through the tools already available under law. But do not use code enforcement concern as a getaway to government acquisition of someone else's land. I am also concerned about unintended consequences. This proposal says it is intended to address inequity and protect vulnerable communities, but vague taking authority may create a greater risk for people who have the fewest resources to quickly respond, hire an attorney, or navigate a complicated administrative process. Lower income property owners, elderly residents, families dealing with illness, and people managing inherited properties may be particularly vulnerable. This proposal also attempts to declare that taking abandoned property may be considered a public use. The Washington Constitution protects private property and provides that whenever a proposed use is truly public, and provides that whether a proposed use is truly public is a judicial question, and that safeguard matters. Private property rights are fundamental and must be protected. Blight may require action on safe structures, require intervention, but addressing blight does not create a new pathway for government to take private property. So for those reasons, I urge you to not support C-42.
Thank you, Commissioner Rohr. Next up is Commissioner Herrera.
Thank you, Commissioner Herrera, District 2. So regarding eminent domain, my comments are these. We already have a process in place. The government does not need to take further steps to seize property for any further reasons. This proposal is disguised as protection for the poor and infirmed to advance community safety, but it is just another attempt to add more government overreach. This aligns with socialist, communist ideals, and this is America. This is what differentiates us from other countries. It is a long and cumbersome and deliberate process with safeties in place for property owners. Let's not once again entertain ideas that take away rights of property and homeowners. The last thing we want to do is be the government who seizes the land. Didn't we create our wonderful country on those principles of having something to show for hard work? Pierce County is not and should not ever be in the business of seizing homes and land. One of the first things a communist government does is seize property, and the reasoning is for the poor. We have seen evidence used here in Washington State and the government as a reason to seize land to deny rights for conservation reasons. These words are used as an excuse to seize land. Smoke and mirrors, everyone. Also, I believe the public spoke against it, but again, you're pushing through your agenda because you and your group simply do not care. You do not care. And furthermore, or listen. Furthermore, anything proposed from a communist, socialist agenda should never, ever be heard. I will not support taking away property from families who once upon a time worked hard to buy their property. Voting for this shows that those commissioners are in line with this communist agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Herrera. Commissioner Ginn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner, again, District 4. I've been really baffled this evening about this one because I feel like what is vague is what currently exists, this proposal is making it more clear as to what public use entails. And I just feel like I'm wondering if we're reading the same amendment, because clarifying what public use is, to me, does not expand the definition of public use. It actually limits it. If anything, I'm reading this as making it harder for the government to seize property because it's outlining what public use entails. So I went back to the legal review for C-42, which is in the meeting packet from May 27th. It doesn't say that it makes it easier for the county to seize land. There's still a legal process for condemnation of land. It's in Washington state law. It's already in our county charter. So I feel like a lot of the comments really have nothing to do with this proposal, but they seem to be more against eminent domain existing at all, which is a totally separate matter. Thank you.
Commissioner Consuelo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Consuelo, District 6. In addition to this, again, it was mentioned by the opposition that there would at least be a 2-year process in which this would have to go through legally. And so it's not like they're just going to go out and take your land. In Commissioner Rydell Kelly's amendment, it shares here the amount of time it would take for it to be considered abandoned, and that is 7 years. There have been members of the public who have talked about public safety and housing and how these abandoned houses deal with, I never want to use it, but the broken mirrors theory. And so, if we can do some good to come out of that, I think this would be the instance in which I would ever touch that theory. And so, additionally, I think the inclusion of the well-being for the poor or the necessary support of poor and infirmed. I don't know if you guys have worked in our homeless sector here in Pierce County, but it is very difficult, and there aren't enough resources for beds here. Apart from funding, there is just hardly ever any place to have more beds for folks or to create a new shelter. Not that I think we should be going through shelters, but it is a reality of our current situation here in Pierce County. I know that there was one, I don't know if it would have been eminent domain, but where they transformed an old building, I think out in Parkland, into a housing structure for folks who are experiencing homelessness. So that's where my mind goes to when I'm hearing this this proposal. I don't know how you would have the county gain any personal privileges on doing this. So this seems to me as, being able to do some good. So that's why I'm leaning towards it. Additionally, I think it's time to just, like the members of the public have said, calling a spade a spade. A lot of these theatrics that have been going on about inciting fear and things of that sort, if you're going to call someone a commie, call someone a commie and stop hiding behind this theoretical throwing out of these words or names. So if you're going to be about it, be about it.
Is there further discussion? Commissioner Likens?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My comment will be very brief. I just wanted to echo Commissioner Ginn's comments, because when I read this in the very first 3 words, it goes from private property shall be taken by the county to may be taken by the county. And when you go from shall to may, that is weakening the powers of eminent domain. So although I am not sure if I will be supporting this going forward, because I believe it may be more policy, I just wanted to concur with Commissioner Ginn. And if we could keep the comments more civil on all sides, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, seeing no further discussion, Commissioner Fletcher.
I'd like to thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Fletcher, District 5, I'd like to make a motion the motion here would be by simple majority to vote to remove C42 from this agenda indefinitely.
Point of order.
Commissioner Likens, your point?
Or it's a point of clarification. Pardon?
Point of parliamentary procedure.
Point of parliamentary procedure. Thank you, Commissioner Layton. So in order to suspend our rules, is that suspending our rules?
Just like the last one.
Yeah, yes, like the last one, it requires a 2/3 majority. Thank you.
So there's a motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to by simple majority.
It cannot be.
It cannot be.
So let me clarify my motion. Okay, so my motion is to remove C42 by a simple majority from the agenda. My motion didn't say how that is reached. All I'm saying is my motion is to remove this item by simple majority from the agenda indefinitely. If that requires a 2/3 vote of the body, so be it. Okay? Thank you.
With the clarification that this is a motion to suspend the rules, which does require 2/3, it's been moved and seconded to remove this item from further discussion. Our rules would have required it to move on to a second reading. The motion would essentially cancel that. So it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we will have a show of hands vote.
Can I speak to this motion as well?
I'm sorry, Commissioner Fletcher. I'm so sorry. We've been speaking a lot. I do apologize. Please speak to your motion.
Yes, briefly. Again, along the same principles as the prior one, this is to discern good from bad and also expeditious use of our time. I don't think this bill has any merit or legs to, one, get a simple majority vote at the second reading. I don't think the people are going to vote for this. Snowball's chance and you know where. So I do think this is a good use of our time to quickly discern good ideas from bad ideas so we can focus on what will make a difference and what will impact the citizens in a beneficial way. Thank you.
So I'm going to recognize my right to speak. I'm going to vote no on this motion, and I didn't say why I voted no on the last one for the same reason, that we agreed to a process, we agreed to move things to second reading, and I wouldn't have voted in favor of removing something from an agenda earlier, even if it was something that I thought had no chance of passing and something that I personally completely disagreed with. We've gone forward with our process to date, and my vote no on these motions is out of respect for that, and to point out that this will move to second reading, and it can be quickly disposed of if there's not a majority to move it further. So is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please hold your cards up or raise your hands online. I count 6. Those opposed?
Of course. Man, they are freaking crazy. They are. Yeah.
I count 10. Abstain? 1 abstention? The motion fails. It does not achieve 2/3. Commissioner Heimlich?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I believe Commissioner Malewski is in the Zoom under attendees. She raised her hand during that. But
sorry.
Not in as a panelist.
Oh, if Commissioner Malewski is not showing up as a panelist, we do need to move her over.
I think we conducted the vote with her.
The vote was conducted with her hand counted. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out.
So 7-10.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on the merits of proposal C42? Sorry, thank you. C42. Seeing no further discussion, Commissioner Rydell Kelly, very briefly, if you have anything to add, nothing. All right, seeing no further discussion on this, we're going to move forward to the next item, which is P7, campaign finance. That's on page 28 of your agenda packet. On this one, the process is a tiny bit different because it originated as a public proposal, as we have been doing all along. We have a very brief introduction from the sponsoring proposer. And I'm going to turn to Commissioner Rydell Kelly, and he can introduce the member of the public who is proposing.
Madam Chair, I'm going to be recusing myself from this. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, serving as chair. I'm going to quickly hand it over to my friend and constituent David Rose, who brought this forward, and I have no other introductions other than I look forward to what Mr. Rose has to say and to supporting this amendment.
Thank you, Commissioner Rydell Kelly. David Rose from District 4, author of this amendment. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on it. I don't think it's particularly controversial to say that money in politics is one of the most important issues facing our democracy right now. How many times have you heard George Soros brought up in public comments? I think that everyone understands when the rich guys on the other side donate to your opponents, it feels really crappy, but when everyone's doing it, it becomes very difficult to find anyone with the political courage, the integrity, or the moral consistency to do the right thing. I've spoken about the best fundraiser on this body before. I want to take a moment to speak about the second best fundraiser on this body. He's the sponsor of this amendment, and I appreciate that integrity. And I think it shows that you can be an effective fundraiser and still do the right thing. So I want to talk about what this amendment does and why, and what it doesn't do. Number one, it limits the type of entities that a candidate can collect from. I've spoken about tree farms and car dealerships. Some people are sensitive about facts. So I'm going to pick something a little less close to home. There's a man named Patrick Lewins in Pierce County. He owns a company called Lewins Corporation. Patrick Lewins donated $2,400 to Sheriff Keith Swank. The Lewins Corporation also donated $2,400 to Sheriff Keith Swank. The funny thing about the Lewins Corporation is it doesn't have hands. The Lewins Corporation did not write a check. Patrick Lewins wrote a check and he gave it to Sheriff Swank. At the same time, he gave him another check for $2,400. We have campaign finance laws to keep rich people from buying elections and our elected officials, but we have wealthy individuals in our community who are using the companies that they own to circumvent Washington law. This amendment closes that loophole. Number two, it limits how much a candidate can collect from an individual. We had a speaker last week trying to tell us how little $400 is. I don't know what he buys at Costco, but I think Commissioner Rydell Kelly spoke very eloquently about what $400 means to a working class family. It's very often someone's whole paycheck. I think this amendment very importantly applies a limit that is tied to a measurable, a tangible measure of working class income. This amendment levels the playing field. This limits how much a candidate can contribute to themselves. Yes, it effectively kills self-funded campaigns. The legal review mentioned the risk of eliminating campaigns with no risk of quid pro quo. Problem with that is, while we have a romantic idea of self-funded campaigns, one can in fact be entirely beholden to their own self-interests. And I would argue that it's almost as bad to be in it completely for yourself as it is to be in it for our corporate overlords. That door is pretty much closed for the poor also. This opens doors for working class people to engage and compete in our politics. Finally, it creates a framework for public campaign financing. I think the issue is that too many of our politicians are beholden to their biggest donors. I believe our elected officials should be beholden to their voters. I think in an ideal world, the vast majority, if not all, campaign finance should come from should be tied to a measure of support from the constituency you are running to represent. This creates that framework. Which brings me to what this amendment does not do. It does not cost a dime, and it does not impose any active enforcement. I was not trying to burden the auditor or the taxpayers any more than they already are. I'm trying to address the issue of campaign finance within the framework of the law, which brings me to number two. It does not keep anyone from exercising their First Amendment rights. I understand why legal review brought up the First Amendment in a post-Citizens United world, but I respectfully and vehemently disagree. For anyone concerned, I very specifically structured this amendment not to interfere with the right to free speech. I wrote it to apply a higher standard to our elected officials and candidates. This does not impose any restriction on the individual speech that does not already exist with campaign finance laws. It does not prevent corporations or groups of individuals from pooling their money and spending it in politics. They just can't, or excuse me, the candidate simply can't accept it. But if you want to pool money with your neighbors to buy a Facebook ad or take a page out in a newspaper, you can absolutely do that. This doesn't stop you. There will absolutely be people who are angry about this, especially rich people. It is what it is. If you're afraid of making people angry, frankly, if you're afraid of being sued, go home. Everything that you do here will face legal challenge. Everything that you do here is going to make someone angry. If you aren't up for that, pick a better profession, seriously. If it's too much for you, you pick the wrong field. Otherwise, lead with your values. I want to end with this, and I appreciate the time. If we are elevating the expenditure of money to the level of an exercise of free speech, what we are saying is that the volume of your voice in our system is tied to the volume in your bank account. And I, for one, have a problem with that. I hope I am not alone.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Is there call for discussion on this issue, or on this matter? Commissioner Hannock.
I have a lot of concerns about this one. It limits, as actually it was meant to limit the ability to spend money. Raising the money means you're also spending that money. You're buying yard signs. You're buying a website. You might pay for a consultant. All those things so you can win. Filing fees alone can cost $2,000 what am I looking at, council? $1,000 just for a council seat. There is a judgeship, which is $2,000, over $2,000. So that means that usually in May, when you pay the filing fees, you don't have the money to do so. So you have to pay it out of your own pocket. But this proposal right here, this charter amendment, would limit your ability to even file for an office right away because you have to pay for it out of your own funds. Sorry for the background noise. It also says that you have the minimum hourly wage in the county. That works for Pierce County because we don't have cities that have chosen to have a different minimum wage. But in other counties, there has been the start, and there could be in the next 10 years, that there's going to be a city that has a different minimum wage. So then how are you going to calculate the minimum hourly wage in the county? And this also bases it upon the ability to use democracy vouchers or other public funds and pooling money for public funds. However, those funds don't exist at this time. So we're passing a charter amendment based on items that don't exist yet. But ultimately, and with federal minimum wage, you also have the rules that maybe you have 500 or more workers, and that's a different minimum wage than the minimum wage of the rest of your workers or other companies that have less than 500. There are a lot of different factors in basing it on a minimum wage. It's a floating target. So for all those reasons, plus the Live report does say, I think, and I believe it's very important, it is a limitation of free speech. Not just because the donor is giving the money and it's the donor's free speech, but it's because the candidate himself doesn't have the ability to put up yard signs. When they cost anywhere from $4 to $5, you might be able to get a really good deal at $3, but that would be buying in bulk, which then would exceed the limits of how much money you can have. So for a lot of reasons, when you campaign, you might not get a decent website. You might not get a decent consultant when you are limited by the dollar amounts that you can spend.
Thank you. I just realized that we did have a legal report because this is in a slightly different format than we've been used to. So I would look to the deputy prosecuting attorneys to call it out or to speak to it. The legal report is in the packet. It's right behind the amendment itself.
Thank you, Chair. There are a number of provisions of the proposal that do likely violate free speech because, actually, as Commissioner Hannock just described, they limit both the candidates and voters' ability to get their message out. I won't belabor the details though. Thank you.
Did their job. Seeing no further discussion, Commissioner Rydell Kelly, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Look, I just didn't see you.
Commissioner Rogi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Rogi, District 3. I will keep it brief, but I believe that this is an overreach of the Charter Commission's authority, and it's unconstitutional to restrict free speech. We can't write in random penalties when there are laws on the books about how to legally remove candidates, and I move to withdraw this from consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to withdraw this from consideration. Commissioner Rogi, would you like to speak to the motion?
I live in America, and when I ran my campaign, I did have to use my own money, and I didn't get help from big corporations. I went out and doorbelled, but I didn't ask people for money. I asked for what they wanted from me to represent them well. And I think this is a completely inappropriate limitation on the ability for people, regular people. I am not a politician. I never thought I would run for office, but I ran for office because I care about what happens in our county. And I want the ability to be able to run for office, and if I can't immediately raise funds and I need to put in money to my campaign, that would be helpful. And it's my legal right to do so. And it's the legal right of people to raise money. So this idea about calling out people who are good for raising money, like they're the bad guys, it's legal. And it's okay because we need representation. And so I am moving to remove this because it's unconstitutional. And I don't even know why we're wasting our time on it. Thank you.
Commissioner Rydell Kelly, are you speaking to the motion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm going to keep it very brief. Someone told me today that the city of Issaquah has a $600 limit on campaign fundraising, and it is constitutional. And candidates, when they're going for endorsements, let folks know that that is the limit on what they can fundraise. So I believe it has been tested as not unconstitutional, and I don't think this is a good reason to remove the amendment. That's all.
So it's been moved and seconded to remove this matter from discussion and not advance it to a second reading. Again, this is a motion that requires 2/3 of the body to approve it. So all in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your card or raising your hands online. I count 7.
Nope.
All those opposed?
I think Brenda.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think Brenda.
Sorry,
did it last.
we vote.
Sorry.
I think Brenda had her.
All in favor of the motion, please raise your card or raise your hands online.
Sharon. I think Sharon. There you go. Brenda.
Sorry about that. 8.
All those opposed, please raise your card or your hands online. I count 10. Any abstentions? Seeing none, the motion fails. Sorry, the math is daunting. All right, Commissioner Rydell Kelly, seeing no further substantive discussion, you have a brief opportunity to close out the discussion on this before it moves to second reading.
Thank you. Very briefly, I would just say that this obviously appears controversial and bold. I think that charters are living documents that reflect learnings and growth in democratic politics over time, and this is how we should approach how we think about democracy and how we do our work. So I look forward to further discussion next Monday, I guess it is, or whenever it comes up again. And thank you,
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Layton.
Without objection, given the temperature of the room physically and maybe other way, just a 10-minute recess I think might be appropriate.
Any objection to a 10-minute recess? All right.
Say that again. I'm recording now.
And we are now turning to item number P14, recognition of natural resources. It is on page 33 of your packet, and this is a member of the public has proposed this, and the sponsoring commissioner is Commissioner Ginn, so I'll turn to Commissioner Ginn to introduce the item and consult with the sponsor or the member of the public, should that person be available.
Thank you, Commissioner Ginn, District 4. Is Rachel online and would like to speak before I do?
Rachel is online. I will move her over.
Well, hey, Rachel is.
Okay, Rachel is with us now. Should be able to fully participate.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening, commissioners. Thank you to Commissioner Ginn for sponsoring this proposal. My name is Rachel Kurtz McElwain. I live on Anderson Island in the unincorporated Pierce County, which is District 6, by the way. I submitted the proposed preamble amendment recognizing Pierce County's commitment to protect and steward our natural resources. This amendment does not create a new regulatory program, does not change permit standards, it does not give anyone a new cause of action, it does not direct the county to stop development or adopt any specific environmental rule. And because this has come up, there seems to be some misinformation going around. I want to be clear, this amendment does not recognize rights of nature. It does not give rivers or ecosystems legal standing. It simply recognizes that Pierce County's natural resources are part of the basic foundation of public health, safety, welfare, economic vitality, and quality of life. That is especially appropriate in Pierce County. Our communities depend on working farms, forests, shorelines, aquifers, rivers, salmon habitat, floodplains, wetlands, and the Puget Sound. These are not side issues. They are part of the county's long-term stability and identity. The DPA suggested Article 9 as an alternative placement, and I respectfully disagree. The preamble already declares why the county governs: home rule, separate branches, responsible and integrated government, initiative and referendum, and citizen participation. These are not operational rules. They are foundational values that guide the charter as a whole. Natural resource stewardship belongs at that same level. Placing it in Article 9 would treat it as a separate policy provision rather than a value that guides the whole charter. This is modest language. It is legally permissible. It is consistent with charter level values, and it gives future county leaders clear direction that natural resource stewardship is part of Pierce County's long-term public responsibility. Clean water, working farms, healthy forests, and a thriving sound are not partisan. They are part of what makes this a good place to live for everyone here now and everyone who comes after. I respectfully urge you to pass it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll turn now to the DPA for the legal review.
Just that it is within the authority of the charter county. Thank you.
Any discussion on this matter? Commissioner Rogie? Commissioner Ginn?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Oh, Commissioner Rogie, then Commissioner Ginn.
Okay. Holly Rogie, District 3. I firmly believe that this is inappropriate to list nature as a priority equal to people in the preamble. The preamble is about the people of Pierce County, and what we agree is the structure and responsibility of government. To put it simply, this is policy. We have a lot of programs and policy and dollars, frankly, going to conservation, like the Conservation Futures Program. We pay taxes that helps preserve these lands for public use. So this does not belong in the preamble, and it doesn't belong in this charter. Thank you.
Commissioner Ginn.
Thank you, Commissioner Ginn. Rachel kind of said everything I would have said, so I just want to comment that preambles contain 3 elements: source of authority, action taken, and intent. Intent often contains values, goals, and civic aspirations. Whatcom County Preamble, treasuring the many wonders of our unique environment and realizing that the power and duty to govern and protect this region is inherent in its people, for example. So I find it actually offensive to think that how well the land is doing doesn't affect how we are doing as humans, and this not at all was never intended to give any sort of legal human rights to nature. So appreciate the submission. That said, I would like to make a motion as the sponsor to postpone the rules and postpone P14 indefinitely.
Second.
Second.
It's been
Get it, Fletcher.
moved and seconded to postpone this matter indefinitely. Commissioner Ginn, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, as it compares to other charter amendments we're considering, it doesn't do anything in action in terms of implementation. So while I think words matter and values matter, I want to keep moving and get to things that are going to change the structure of government. And I am tired of people taking up so much time when I am here, not spending time with my 3 and 6-year-old children, trying to plot how to take up time when we are just trying to get things done for the people of Pierce County. Thank you.
Commissioner Layton, are you speaking to the motion?
Yep, that's my narrative. Commissioner Layton, District 7, why I'll be voting for this one is because the sponsor of it is actually wanting it, and I respect that, and respect that as part of her desire for how she wants her amendment to move through the process. Thank you.
Commissioner Rogie, to the motion?
Yes, Commissioner Rogie, District 3. I am supportive of this motion and want to remind everyone that we are following our process that we established from the start of this commission, and as has been voted in twice now, in an attempt to streamline some of these proposals. So I don't think I personally am not wasting people's time when I'm representing my community and speaking to a proposal.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we will vote. I don't think this calls. Oh, Commissioner Heimlich.
Sorry, I was just jumping the gun on voting.
Oh, okay. This does not call for a 2/3 vote.
Yes,
It's
it
not a
does.
motion to override our rules. It's a motion by the sponsor to postpone a matter indefinitely. Does that call for 2/3?
Yes, because our rules does say everything requires
Oh, all right.
two-thirds.
I apologize.
Or requires 2 readings. So
All right. Yep,
yeah.
that is correct. I apologize. I wasn't trying to do something different. I was just sorting it through on the fly. All right. Yes. This motion requires 2/3. So, all in favor of the motion to postpone this matter indefinitely, please raise your card or indicate online by raising your hand.
I count all 19.
Opposed? None? Abstentions? None? Okay, the motion passes. Thank you. With that, we will remove this matter as postponed indefinitely. Moving now to P2. Commissioner O'Leary, this is your proposal. Again, the same process that we've been going through, given that this is a public proposal. You're free to introduce the item. I don't know if the original sponsor is available. If they are, you're welcome to call on them. And after that, we'll move to the legal report and then discussion of the matter.
I don't know that thank you, Commissioner. I don't know that the original sponsor is online. I don't see them in the room.
He's not in the room, that's correct.
I'm sorry, say again?
Oh, I said you are correct. He is not in the room.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just speak to this. It's very straightforward. The proposal as amended to date is for the removal of the requirement for a a candidate for council members to be a registered voter inside their district. And this is in conjunction with or in line with the outcome of the court ruling in the case of Salon versus Farmer that was recently handed down by the Superior Court. And then if you look at the legal review, there's also some other information there. So I think it's pretty straightforward now. I want to thank Commissioner Lance for helping to clean this up, and I appreciate all the previous history that was provided in the last reading, but this now is the crux of the change. So I have no further comments on it.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Leary. Can we get a legal report on this matter?
Yes, Commissioner O'Leary's description is pretty accurate. This is in response to the legal challenge to the candidates' voter registration. So it would remove the 1-year voter registration requirement from the charter and just leave the 1-year residency. The 1-year voter registration requirement is rather unusual. There are a lot of jurisdictions that have a 1-year residency requirement, but not voter registration.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I was going to call her Commissioner. Thank you, Ms. Flynn. I would now open discussion on this. Kate, gosh, I'm so sorry. Sorry. Commissioner Ginn has her card up for discussion.
Thank you, Commissioner Ginn, District 4. I am not opposed to doing something about this, but we already have an amendment proposal that's C7 around the residency requirement for council members that this could be an easy amendment change to. So I personally don't think we need both. This one also has nothing to do with P2, the original intent of what the public submitted. So I would just ask that we consider any changes in line with this that are needed as part of C7. Thank you.
Commissioner Rogie, followed by Commissioner Hetherington.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Rogie, District 3. I am supportive of this proposal. It is a requirement still in this section that you have to be a resident and a registered voter of Pierce County. The time requirement is where there's a potential conflict, and so we can eliminate that conflict by this simple proposal. And I would submit that there are proposals in the hopper that we may need to look at. That's part of our process, is to look at the proposals that have been approved and see what proposals make sense to merge together or add to each other. So I think we should keep this separate unless and vote this in, and then we can always add it to the other one if the body votes that way. But this is a reminder, this just moves to the hopper and it calls out this very specific change. Thank you.
Commissioner Hetherington, then Commissioner Hannock, and then Commissioner Rohrer.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lance. Commissioner Hetherington, District 2. So there's 3 different ways that something can go on the ballot, right? The council could do something by a 2/3 vote, they could go to the ballot. We have the opportunity to do that, and then the people through signature gathering or whatever. So in light of this being a brand new, court ruling on Sloan versus Farmer, I'm just kind of thinking in light of some time right here, is this something that the council is looking at already, making this change themselves and proposing it to the voters in November? I don't know, I guess point of information.
I think you can ask the question, but I'm not seeing anybody that seems to have any insider information. Perhaps Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Flynn, has something on that?
They might be considering that. They might also be waiting to see if the Charter Review Commission does something on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Hannock, then Rohrer.
I just want to kind of point out that we could send this to the council, but either way, because it's a charter amendment, it's probably going to have to go to the public. If we introduce it to the public or the council, we'll probably get it done faster since it will be on the November election this time for being ready for the May next year. But I also want to kind of, again, to reiterate, I'm in favor that when we get to the bucket of items going to the ballot, that we can move a little thematically and group them together so that we can consolidate things like this one and other related issues. Initiatives have related issues. That would be a way that we can move forward with one amendment, not several. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rohr.
She's muted.
Commissioner Rohr, your mic's up. There you go.
Commissioner Rohr, District 6, thank you. When we get to proposals that are in the hopper, are we able to add sponsors to current proposals when they get amended?
I don't. We don't have any process on that. I'm not sure what it would add. When everything's in the hopper, we're going to have a debate about it, and people can say,
"Sure,
I'm in favor of this. I really love it," or whatever. But yeah.
Okay.
And to address just a process point to address Commissioner Hannick, speaking on behalf of the chair and myself, we do have plans to institute some processes and some systems to try to do just that, to consolidate what we've got, to put like with like. So once we can get things moved past the second reading, then we'll move on to that next step. But excellent point. Thank you. Commissioner Rogie, Commissioner Hetherington, are those from before? Okay. All right. Seeing no further discussion, this moves to second reading. All right.
First readings now completed?
Yes. Oh, yeah. All right. Everyone, do a little clap. We have now performed a
We were
first
told
reading
not to.
of everything that is on our plate. First reading only. So, excellent work. With that, we're moving to the portion of our agenda where we actually do second readings. And second readings need to begin with a motion to advance the motion or the proposal for further consideration. The maker of the motion, typically the sponsor, would have the first chance to speak to that motion. Any pre-filed or floor amendments to the proposals at second reading would be offered as amendments to the main motion to move it forward. Turning to C8R, Commissioner Ginn, do you have a motion?
I do. I'd like to make a motion to move C8R to the hopper.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to move C8R to, is that right? C8R to the hopper. Commissioner Ginn, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, thank you. And I'll refresh memory a little bit because I know it's been a long time since we last discussed this, but this came out of my background in human resources and what I've observed with how the county fills head of department roles. I added a handout that follows the amendment on page 40 of your packet because there was a question around what positions would this affect. So the amendment essentially 7.10 adds some more detail as to what it means to select employees on the basis of merit. So that additional sentence added there to clarify what should be included in a meritorious hiring process. And then the changes that would happen because of 7.2 in terms of what's not already happening is that the positions that are bulleted in the handout, so Clerk of the Superior Court, Director of Economic Development, etc., those positions would be required to be filled by an open meritorious hiring process and could no longer be just appointed by the executive. You will see that the executive currently is doing hiring processes for these positions, but he's actually not required to, and it hasn't always been done that way in the past, so I just thought it was wise to require in the charter that it would be and would continue to be to make sure the county is finding the most qualified and best fits for these roles. And then there's a couple items in F and G in terms of positions that are already appointed without a hiring process, such as actor officers and the strategic advisors within the Office of the Executive. Those are the roles that elected officials, of course, appoint a small team, the council members appoint their assistant, etc. That was already in there. I thought it was important to add this into the charter, even though that's already happening, for transparency, so the public can see what positions are filled by hiring and which are not. And the reason this one is so important to me is because over and over again I've heard in public comment concerns about this person's just going to be a lackey of so-and-so, or they're just going to respond to so-and-so. So I really want to make sure it's clear and transparent to the public how roles are filled and which ones are somebody choosing whoever they want and which ones do actually. And these positions also have a number of qualifications that are laid out in ordinance. But to have at the charter level, these are the positions that require this process. That's it. Thank you.
Is there further discussion? Seeing none, it's been moved and seconded to advance this proposal for further consideration to the Hopper. We're taking roll call votes on these, I believe. So, clerk, will you please call the roll for the vote?
Lisa Boyd.
Yes.
George Consuelo.
Aye.
Mason Fletcher.
No.
Kate Ginn.
Aye.
Sharon Hannick.
No.
Caleb Heimlich.
Yes.
Elizabeth Herrera.
No.
Billy Joe Hetherington.
Yes.
Jake Hunter.
Aye.
Justin Layton.
No.
Brenda Likens.
Yes.
Brenda Molesky.
No.
Jerome O'Leary.
I abstain.
Holly Rogie.
No.
Lujana Rohr.
Yes.
Devin Rydell Kelly.
Yes.
Troy Surratt.
Yes.
Jen Marie Strictly.
Yes.
And Vice Chair Lance.
Yes.
Okay, I have 12 in favor, 6 opposed, and 1 abstention.
The motion passes. This matter will be moved to the Hopper for further discussion when we reach the final consideration portion of our process. Moving to the next item, C21, which is referendum on page 41 of your packet. Commissioner Rogie, do you have a motion?
I move to move this to the Hopper.
Second.
Commissioner Rogie, it's been moved and seconded to advance this for further consideration. Commissioner Rogie, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I would. We have heard from the, this is Holly Rogie, District 3. We've heard from the public their support for this proposal to change and strengthen the referendum. This amendment reiterates and reinforces a foundational principle of American democracy. The people, not just elected officials, hold the final say over the laws that govern our daily lives. It ensures that any ordinance passed by the County Council, except those limited in our state constitution, can be reviewed and potentially overturned by the voters. This is not radical, it is direct democracy in action. Consider the initiative right now that is being circulated to overturn the recently approved tax increase. Think about land and property rights. Pierce County has seen disputes over zoning charges, impervious surface taxes, and open space regulations that can dramatically affect farmers, homeowners, and rural communities. When processes or ordinances impose burdensome restrictions without broad consent, property owners feel it. And referendum is reserving the power of the people and does not diminish representative government, rather it complements it. It promotes transparency so officials know their work will be subject to public scrutiny. This encourages better legislation from the start and restores trust when citizens feel unheard. We the people retain the power to review or reject bad ordinances.
Commissioner Likens?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the intent of having a referendum. I am very much in favor of citizen referendums and the ability to challenge any ordinance passed by council or really any other body for that matter. However, what I object to within this, and I vehemently object to, is the ordinances necessary for immediate preservation of public peace, health, safety, or support of the county government. And in prior meetings, there was reference to concern over the COVID epidemic and the emergency orders around that. Emergency orders require a 2/3 majority. And we have repeatedly said that that requires bipartisan participation with the given makeup of the current council. And for all we know, there could be 5 Republicans, 6 Republicans, 6 Democrats. It could change 10 years from now. So that's an assumption. But it requires a 2/3 majority. And I'll tell you why I'm vehemently opposed to it. Because misinformation that was in the community that was not scientifically backed, in my personal care of many, many, many patients during the COVID epidemic, I saw people harmed, injured, disabled, and actually die because of medical misinformation. And it is very, very concerning to me that you would want to allow someone to overturn that information. I strongly encourage the rest of my colleagues not to support this. Thank you.
Commissioner Rydell Kelly, followed by Commissioner Fletcher.
Commissioner Rydell Kelly, District 4. I'm going to keep it brief because I am not a nurse and can't speak nearly as passionately as Commissioner Likens. But I know I've advanced for participatory democracy over and over again throughout this process and will be very much hoping that people support the amendment to make initiatives easier. I also cannot support this fundamentally for the same reasons expressed by Commissioner Likens, especially given the likelihood of future public health crises in the United States and in our region in light of cuts for health funding and what we're actually seeing with epidemics around the world right now. So I would also say strong encouragement for folks to vote no on this. Thank you.
Commissioner Fletcher?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Fletcher, District 5. I'm speaking in support for C21. Yes, this is a COVID consequence. We were all here for that. It was blatant overreach by the government. This is just a drop in the bucket to reestablish the proper relationship between those in power and the governed. And so I think, you know, the people should have this ability, and it should not be suspended by any sort of emergency ordinance that a supermajority of the council seems to be fit to impose. This is a proper check on the power of government, and it empowers the citizens to, you know, take action. And again, I think this is a good thing, and I will be speaking. You know, I will be voting for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Herrera, followed by Commissioner Hannick.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Herrera, District 2. I'm going to provide some pros of a referendum and positive impacts. So some pros of referendum is direct democracy. People vote on an issue themselves instead of leaving the decision only to elected representatives. Public participation. It encourages citizens to take part in political decisions. Greater legitimacy. A decision approved by the public is often seen as more acceptable and valid. Reflects public opinion. It gives a clear picture of what the majority wants. Accountability. Leaders may become more careful and responsive because the public has a direct voice. Political awareness. Campaigns around referendums can educate people about important issues. Peaceful decision making. It provides a democratic way to settle controversial matters. So, I will now read from my list of positive impacts. Strengthens democracy by involving citizens directly in governments. Builds trust in government when people feel their voices matter. Encourages civic education because voters learn more about policies and issues. Promotes national debate on important topics. Can resolve major constitutional or social issues with public approval. Reduces the gap between government and citizens. Empowers citizens and increases their sense of responsibility. So I will be supporting this amendment, and I encourage a yes vote. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Hannick, followed by Commissioner Layton.
I think Commissioner Hannick, District 1, we must remember what a referendum simply means. It means you're taking it for a revote, but this time a revote by the people and the citizens of Pierce County. It is not in itself actually making a decision. And oftentimes this is being used, and the government says you can't do a referendum on anything that increases sales tax because that's the protection of preservation of public peace, health, and safety. But what it really is increase of a taxation system. And that's kind of one of the reasons why there are referendums or attempts for referendums, because sometimes the people are being taxed too much and they just want a chance for the entire county to re-vote more than just the 7 people that are on the council. I also believe that there are good-minded, very capable people that are elected to the council. Therefore, a situation very unique like COVID, where we had Emergency Powers Act, not just Pierce County, but the state, I believe that they can still make their requirements. And again, if we have to take it to the vote of the people, but the people will be smart enough to decide that it really is an